discussed in this unit, critically analyze the reasons why Lingiari electorate voted no on the voice referendum. So I'm not asking for an electoral analysis. I'm saying, looking at the 4 issues: affect, emotion, salience, policy entrepreneurship, and causal stories, which we'll all talk about. What were the elements that contributed to a no vote? So Lingiari is 44% indigenous. It's 44% Aboriginal specifically, and it's the most indigenous electorate in Australia, and it voted no. So something is going on there. And then you got Redfern, which is only, I think it's, I'm going to be wrong, I've looked it up, but it's like 4 or 5% indigenous, but historically and traditionally. So Uluru is in Lingiari. Uluru, from the Uluru Statement from the Heart, Uluru, one of the wonders on the planet Earth, is in that electorate. And they voted no on the voice. So the question is, what are the variables, affect, salience, policy entrepreneurship, causal stories? Was there a policy entrepreneur who moved people to a no vote? Was it affect? Was it emotion? Is it white fragility? Is it resentment? Is it, what are the different emotions that could be at play there? Is it salience? Was there something else going on that got people's attention, so maybe people weren't fixated on the emotional well-being of Indigenous Australians, right? Maybe it wasn't that they were voting no because they're really a no vote, but maybe their attention was taken away from them for some other reason. So, like, a number of people have often said that the biggest issue with the yes or no vote wasn't Indigenous rights, it was timing. That they felt like maybe there wasn't the cost of living crisis, inflation was very high. And again, this is relative to salience. Declan.
Another thing that's also looked at is whenever the vote happened, it was also in the light of what was going on in Palestine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that there's necessarily a connection, but at that point in time, that might have been sort of at the forefront of a lot of communities' minds, especially people who come from communities that are associated with the Middle East, that they might have been, well, at that point, I'm not focused on this issue here, but rather what's happening internationally.
Absolutely. I mean, that was October 7th, so that it started, right? So there's a lot of things that were going on, and salience is important. So, what is salience? Salience is the relative importance of an issue related to what else is going on. So you might say Taylor Swift being, or if I died yesterday, but Taylor Swift's plane was coming into Smith, right? But then who cares? I didn't really die, right? Like, in terms of salience, even if there's a tension, even if one article comes out about me dying, it doesn't matter because 3,000 articles come out about Taylor Swift landing, right? Just her landing was worth more emotional weight than my dying, right? So that's the thing. So, okay, so we're looking, so relative salience is really important. And think of it in the Tom Hanks dies, Taylor Swift lands. I mean, Taylor's kind of being, I think the rain was kind of competitively salience, right? Storms, lightning, outages, 4 people died. This storm was quite significant. And like, it would be hard to compete with Taylor. But salience is competitive. Why? We have limited attention, which means what? What is primacy? What the primary operating model of all humanity? Affect. So whatever is emotionally the most, in the literature, Slovic and others, Onsman and others will talk about Survival value, that somebody's got survival value. That so the storm triggers, you have to evaluate. It triggers an evaluative architecture, cognitive architecture, where you have to make sure you're safe. It's lightning, it's thunder. Do I need to go out? What are the things that I need to do today? So now your attention is diverted. Your salience, your relative salience, the level of importance relative to what else is going on, is directed away from Tay-Tay. So now it's about the storm and survival. And that's because the primacy of affect, your attention to and the feeling of safety is more important than whether Taylor has a good concert in Homebush, right? Okay. The shark is, oh yes, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, like perhaps it's a fairly irrelevant question. However, I was curious, like because I'm not familiar with like this specifically, it's just like, would we know whether it was like mostly a racist no or mostly a sovereign no, or like,
the question is, using the concepts, analyze the reasons why there is a no vote. So it doesn't, so you might say that, so the last characteristic is causal story, right? So maybe there's something around the sovereign no, right? That it's a progressive no. So I didn't vote no against the voice. I voted yes for sovereignty by voting no, right? That's sort of so that could be the causal story what's another causal story? I mean, yeah, I mean, another causal story is I don't think other people should have the same rights that I do. I mean, they've canceled like 6 drag time story hours this week. So something is going on. Like, we don't think they should have rights, so we cancel all the things that they want to do. So that can absolutely be racism, homophobia, transphobia, ableism, any of these things. So we're going to talk next week about emotional oppression of people with Down syndrome. Yes, Dr. Klein.
I find it interesting, sort of like whenever, just to point out with respect to whenever the referendum sort of didn't succeed, there was all this sort of like comparative speakers like, oh, how's this going to affect Australia becoming a republic as such? And I mean, I think it's like these ideas of association between moving away from colonialism as such. So because there was sort of like that colonial image and everything, and moving away from that, and the sort of immediate assumption was, okay, because this didn't work out, that somehow that Australia is going to remain constitutional monarchy. So it's like, I don't know how you probably describe that, but it's like
Well, we talk about it in this class, and we will, as deviations from the norm, right? What's the expectation? Is the expectation that Australia, I'm telling you, attention, expectations, and identity. We're going to come back to it time after time. So the expectation that Australia should continue being a constitutional monarchy if they vote no, right? That's whether or not you meet the expectation. So of the identity of the people. I mean, this is the other thing. Like, that question presumes that everyone in this country is all respected citizens. And the question about emotions and public policy is a question about the relationship between the individual and the state. The voice and the no vote was a message that you are not equal, that we will not treat you equal. You are not equal. We're saying no. The question was equal. The answer was no. So even if the sovereign no, and that can certainly be argued separately, but the message that it would be very difficult, I think. Like, there were a lot of gay people who didn't want gay marriage because they thought the patriarchy and, they don't believe in, that's sort of the Julia Gillard position, right? Julia Gillard said, I just don't think I don't believe in marriage, so I don't believe in same-sex marriage, right? So there were gay people who voted against same-sex marriage in Australia out of principle for the preservation of roles and things like that. But there are still people who feel like a no vote in Ballina, in Byron, in Kalgoorlie affects them, regardless of the intentions of the people who vote no. Okay, so we have the shark. Yes, sir. Yep.
How much kind of subjectivity are you expecting?
This is a master's degree class in the best discipline of the best university in Australia. So we're going to workshop this together. And I'll give you some, and I've got what do I have? I've got you saw the Canvas site about this? Everyone see this? So let me just pause here 1 second. This is a good question. So it's not really about there is a way to do it. This is the way that you do it. And you do it by going to, by the way, I can see this little Big Brother machine here. I can see everyone who has or has not logged into Canvas. And I can see what pages you looked at in Canvas. All right? So if you think you're going to skate through this class by never looking at a thing, then, and I'll never know, because who knows those things? I do. Okay. So here in this one, it says, I've hidden it at the top, how to get a distinction on my essay. Okay. And then I've got a slide, how to get a thing, and then I get this, and then it's got that, and then it's got the questions, and then read that. Maybe that's important. That might be important. And then there's those things, right? Affect, salience, policy, intrusion, causal stories. It should sound familiar. Then the assessment, and then, oh, I did the thing. I put it here. So we're going to go through all this, but the roadmap to the essay is based on a thesis statement that you come up with. And the real question that I'm asking is, where is the power? Somebody won and somebody lost when someone voted yes and someone voted no. So the question in Redfern is, where is the power? And the question in Lingiari is, where is the power? And you're going to use these 4 elements to construct that argument about where is the power that led to a no vote or a yes vote. And you're going to lean on the theory that we're going to go over in class. Like there was good theory on wellness and well-being in Indigenous research, the Lit Review that was in this week 1. And then next week there'll be some really good ones. Has everybody seen the reading list on Canvas? Everything's on Canvas. And the readings are also in the Shark, just in case. But so you lean on the theory, identify where's the power, illustrate it using the 4 points, and make sure you have the highest level of critical analysis. And if you've got to ask the question of, am I using the highest level of critical analysis? What's the answer? Probably not. Because, but the good test for it is the question of where's the power. But you might say something like, in The Voice, the role of power is identified through ethics, salience, policy, entrepreneurship, and causal stories in ways that return power to Indigenous Australians by forcing the country to, I'm using the no vote, the sovereign no, right, the progressive no, by forcing the country to confront its own racism and thereby starting a new, because you could make a conceivable argument that what the no vote did, I'm not making the argument, I'm saying you could make a conceivable argument that what the no vote did was to galvanize local initiatives rather than federal initiatives, right? So it just shifted it. So now the sovereign no people are like, look, in every council across Australia, there's now discussions of the voice of sovereignty, of treaty, like, which never would have happened if they'd gotten a yes vote. I use the example of, and again, I just want to preface this isn't actually my opinion, but you could make a very solid argument on that basis, and then you could argue that in the marriage vote, yes was the worst thing that happened because everyone's, and this is where it comes back to expectation. What did Australia think was left to do after marriage? What was the expectation? Were there more mountains to climb? Were there more Mardi Gras to attend after marriage? Or in the minds of the people who voted yes, did they believe that that their expectation was that this was the last thing they were going to need to do on LGBTQI plus rights? And as a result, it snuffed out initiatives across the country in state and local groups and left a community that had been demonized by the no vote, and then a yes vote actually was the worst thing that could happen to them. So I'm just saying that I don't have ideological purity on these things. I could care less what your argument is, as long as it's a good argument. I'm not Republican. I've worked for Republican senators. I've worked for Democratic senators. Oh, I worked on Republican presidential campaigns. I've worked on Democratic presidential campaigns. 3 of them, and then 2 Republican, 2 Democrat. I've won 1, so I'm not doing very well, but I'm trying. And so those are, does that help a little, maybe? Or should I tip the time thing? Sorry. Okay, where are we? But everyone has seen all these things on the canvas? Okay. Will someone do me a favor? Can I ask a favor? When we have 15 minutes left, can you flag me? Can you wave a wand? Okay. This is the numbers. You're in a master's degree class. This is a master's degree program. If you think that doing the minimum is going to get you 70 or an 80, if you're used to getting an 80, you're going to need to get used to getting a 70. I'm not an easy marker, but I'm a fair marker, and so I don't fail a lot, I don't HD a lot. HD is sort of like publishable quality, but you'll learn a lot, and I'm cheering for big numbers. I always want big numbers, and my other students who've been with me before will tell you I always want bigger, better numbers. So I'm on your team. I'm not out to, it's not a race to not giving you the marks that you want. That is not the dynamic. Okay. Canvas, please, if you do on Canvas, please make sure it's respectable. Here's how to write a thesis statement. Here's my friend. There's the readings. You know, so I want to, I'm going to do this. Where are we at? Okay, we got, I'm going to do that. Oop. I'm going to do that. We're going to put them both up. We're going to be a little crazy. Who has not had me before but would like to talk? I think it's probably you. Hello. Yes. What is a public policy? What's a policy? Any ideas? Yes, hello. Sorry, I'm going back. What's a public policy?
Okay, wow.
Yes, you're doing great. You're doing great. You're doing great.
Typically, it's a sort of a government set of rules and principles that they agree to follow in a sort of context of public affairs, I suppose.
Good. I like it. I like it. What's your name?
I got Lachlan.
Lachlan? Thank you. That was great. Okay. Oh, by the way, I should have told Lachlan. So I do Socratic method because I think it's better, personally. If you don't feel comfortable, if I've got you on a bad day, pass. Just pass. If I'm like, hello, and I ask a question, and you're like, A, I'm not feeling it, B, I don't have emotional volume for this American, like, just pass, okay? Is that an agreement that I can ask questions, but if you don't want to answer it, you just say pass? And it's not a value judgment. This is safe space. I'm on the team. We just pass. We'll just go to somebody else, okay? Good. Hello. So Lachlan said public policy is things that governments do in public affairs. Is that it, or is there more?
Yeah, I think so, but it's a public policy like what the government do to the public.
Oh.
Not just regulation or
Yeah.
anything, but
What government does to the public, not just regulation.
not just regulation.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So let's see if anyone can read any of this. Okay. Public. Do I need thicker markers? Yes. I do. Okay.
Try blue color, see that way.
Blue? Blue? I don't have blue. I have purple. Let's try that. No, I don't think so. Okay. Why don't we just have a conversation? Public policy is what governments do. What's your name? Adriel. Adriel. Oh, I'm butchering this. Okay, we'll come back. Well, so, Adriel? No. Adrian. Okay, good. Said it could be what governments do for the public. The public policy is things you do for the public. And Lachlan said, oh, well, what if it's, things that governments do in public affairs? Is there anything else? Sorry, 1 second. I'll come right to you. Yes, ma'am.
Could be a response to certain issues affecting groups.
Government is a reaction, as a response to something. Okay, let's pause. Oh, what was your name?
Shayna.
Shayna? Yes. Branches or people, whether it's the House or Senate or whether it's the Parliament or whether it's or whatever it is, the court. So could be regulatory, could be policy, could be court, could happen in a lot of different ways. Okay, give me more. I want more. Yes.
It's a way that to unify the regulations throughout the country.
Way to unify the regulations throughout the country. So in one of the literatures, there's this literature from John Kingdon, 85, who talks about multiple streams theory, and he talks about conditions of ambiguity that government is introduced to create consistency, right? Let me pause for just 1 second. Maybe you know the answer to this, and you can give me yours. What's the most important thing in public policy? This is not about emotion. This is the most important thing in the public policy.
Ensuring an order so that there can be a system.
Yes. So I'm going to use a different word, though. You said ensuring order. I'm going to say predictability. Because if your behavior becomes predictable, what does that allow me to do? Anything I want. I know what you're going to do. So I can do whatever I want to do. Because I have an expectation in a belief in that expectation. I know what you're going to do when I cut your taxes. I know what you're going to do when the water bill goes up. Yes?
It gives you the power to sort of control the people around you.
If you know what people are going to do, and you might have other apparatuses as well. Maybe it's, so what are we looking at here? What are our 3 variables? Shayna? What are our 3 things we need to pay attention to? Attention, expectation, identity. So let's assume that your identity is stable, okay? And I don't think it is. I think we all have fluid identity, but let's just assume that the policy process does not process our identity as fluid, right? I think that's reasonable. So identity is unstable. Attention could be fluid. Is there ways that the state can control attention? Yes, no? Robbie? I mean, can the state buy, if President Obama or President Biden, who I've known since 1998, wanted to give a speech, could President Obama call the newspapers or the TV shows and get 20 minutes in the middle of Friends or cut into something? Could, right? Most presidents can declare an emergency, take over the state-run TV. You do all these things. So attention can be controlled by the state. Can expectations be controlled by the state?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's sort of like, not so much as what's that vested, sort of like mandate that's given by, well, democratically speaking, okay, in dictatorial it's a bit different, obviously, but even then, systemic sort of governance
Yeah.
has an expectation that the government will be delivered upon with expected outcomes.
Okay, can we stop there for a second? Clint just made a really important point. What if you need it? The expectation is that you need the government to give you the thing that is the problem that you're dealing with. So your expectation is for the government, right? So Rousseau talked about the social contract. Again, what did I say? It's this relationship between the state and the individual. And the state wants a predictable individual so that the state can maintain and control. So what's the best way the state can control you? By getting you to need the state, right? If you create a structure, it's not by raising your taxes or lowering your taxes, it's by inventing private property, right? And now you need the local council you need somebody to approve your whatever. You're going to build an addition on your house. Well, now you need the state. So this relationship that is developed between you and the state becomes this precious commodity, and you need them, and that sort of turns, it's a little bit like asymmetrical warfare, sorry. It's a little like one side where like that happens. What else is public policy? So public policy is control of attention, it's control of expectations. Do they control identity or no?
It could.
Good. Yes?
I would define public policy as like a set of activities that government engage in order to like change the economy.
Oh, so it could be incrementalists, could be 5%, could be, but let's pause there. Does anybody else influence the, who sets the rate for inflation? The Reserve Bank, but who sets the bond rating that the Reserve Bank relies on? Private banks. Oh, but that doesn't, because governments make policies for the public, but then private banks set the rate for my bond rate. So maybe I'm like Moody's and Standard & Poor's also, so private companies just decide if I have an A+ rating, right, my credit rating. Who's your credit rating decided by? You get a little statement. It's not do you get it from the government? No. You get it from the bank. So the private bank makes the decision. They set what you can do. That house that you need to put the addition onto, your credit rating for that is set by who?
The bank.
The bank. But then you need the government's permission to build the addition. So you need them both.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Okay. So that falls into what we call private governance, which is the way in which the policies that affect the public are done by government actors. Maybe it's a private-public partnership. Maybe it's poles and lines and rail services and things like that. Did anybody take an Uber here? Take an Uber this week? Anybody? Okay. Lachlan took an Uber this week. What are you? You all are. We're going to, by week 10, all these hands are going to be in the air. So Lachlan took an Uber today. So that's private transport. So I thought the government was in charge of transporting people places. You got the bus, it's late and it's difficult. So for me, remember, I don't like people. So how often do I take the bus? And it's not a judgment on like being common. It's a judgment on having a panic attack. So not very often. So I take mostly Ubers. So on the basis of my disability, I have to take more Ubers to move through the world because the public transport, does public transport expect people with neurodiversity to need to have a difficult time? Train for people with neurodiversity to ride the train, so that maybe sometimes you'll have like a quiet room or like maybe a table with nothing on it for someone to sit at, and do they give you earplugs because the noise is really upsetting? You got earplugs. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So we are given the opportunity to wear a sunflower to indicate that, for those who know, that we have a disability that may not be obvious.
I would say you can on suburban trains outside of Sydney, you can go on the quiet carriages, but not on suburban trains.
John, but I'm going to pick on you now. Is the intention that train is for people living with a disability, or is it for white cis businessmen who need to be quiet when they make their bank transactions? Right? They want to read the Wall Street Journal, and they don't want these crazy kids. It's more of a judgment about the crazy kids who ride the train than it is about my neurodiversity on the train. It happens to accommodate me, but that's not an expectation that is built into the public policy process. That is an exception to the public policy process that I am fortunate to be able to take advantage of. Now I'm black, and I go and sit in the quiet section of the train. Is everything going to be okay? What's my expectation? Maybe, maybe not, right? It could be fine. It might not be fine. Here's the other question. What if a friend comes with me and sits down next to me? So now, my friend is also black. So now there's two black people sitting in the quiet car. And what if he says something to me and I answer him? What is the expectation that we should have that we would not then be thrown out of the cab for saying one word, right? How many words can two black people say in the quiet car that was designed for white, cis, Wall Street Journal reading people, right? Because that's really what we're talking about. Because the car was not designed for two black men to have a very discreet conversation, and it wasn't designed for me to be neurodiverse. So the policy process has the emotions in mind for this. The relationship between the state and the individual in the car, in the quiet cabin, is distributive. It's made. The decision is made. That is what it is. Does that make sense? This is quite heavy, but we're doing okay? I'm checking in. Okay. If you go scuba diving, does anybody in here scuba dive? Somebody in here scuba. We're in Australia. It's an island. You're all going to scuba dive at some point. We're on an island. I always say this when cars race past me. I'm like, you're going nowhere. You're literally going nowhere. You are on an island. Anybody here scuba dive? Okay. If you scuba dive, there's only one sign that you need to know. Okay? So this is how I check in to make sure you're okay, because this is a big class. So I'll do this to make sure you're okay. Okay, so it's reciprocal. I didn't clarify. Okay, so we're good. Okay. Where are we? What is policy? How am I doing on time?
7 minutes to go.
Till I'm out of time. Okay, good. So what happens in 7 minutes? And I'm going to distribute cards. And on the cards, they're blank. And I am going to ask possibly the most important question of the entire semester. What do you need? What can I do? How can I be of service? So let's maybe start passing. What do you need? And maybe I'll do, should I do like that? So we're not there yet. But it's going to ask, what do you need? And I have more if we run out. But what do you need? So when I ask undergrads, should I tell you? Or is that going to prime you in a way that is unhelpful? You want me to tell you? Yes, no? Okay. So I did it with the undergrads, and the undergrads said, I need 3 things. What did the undergrads say? First year freshman class, 100 students in a room. What do we expect they would have said? I need friends was number 1. What was number 2? I need degree advice. What was number 3? I need career advice because I'm doing an arts degree in 2024 and my parents think I'm crazy. Do we need more? We have enough? So what do you need? You got one? How good are your nails? Okay, I got it. Thank you. All right. Anybody? Everyone's all set? Okay, so what do you need? That's 1 second. You got more. That one? Okay. Oh. Okay. So, what else is public policy? So, yeah. Hi. Oh, they're passing. There should be some just above you. I passed another. We're good. And he needs one in the corner. What do you need? While I'm doing that, can I ask, how many of you are doing the MPP degree, Master of Public Policy? Okay, all right, that's not, I mean, it's reasonable. It's like 30%. Master of International Relations. Okay, a few. Master of Strategic Public Relations. Okay, any other ones? Master of International Security. What am I missing? Was it? Oh yeah, diploma or graduate degree. When I did my MPP, so I've got a grad diploma, a Master in Public Policy by Research, and a PhD from this university, and a bachelor's degree from the other, my undergrad. And when I started here, I did a grad dip in order to qualify for the master's degree. So I did the grad dip to make sure I had my foot in the door because it had been 10 years. And since then, I've got 3 degrees, which, including a PhD, was just not the fastest degree in the world. So there's all of that. So have we all noted our things? Or we're starting to do it now? So I might just say as we wrap up for today, so this is kind of what, is this a reasonable, for those who've had me before, hello there, everybody. Is this a reasonable pace? I know it's a bit frenetic, but is this a reasonable pace? You've got 3 to 4 readings a week. They're all about 15 to 20 pages each. I think next week is 4 readings. But it's really, next week's class is probably the most important. So if you're going to take the unit, read next week's readings. Are there any questions that we can end on while everybody, so when you fill out your cards, we'll pass them all this way and I'll collect them at the thing. But are there any questions as we wrap up? We're going to talk about what is public policy every week. So if you're like, oh, I didn't get my thing, there are 8 different types of public policy that we're going to talk about in this class. We're going to talk about what goes into the process, regulatory. We're going to talk about what comes out of the process, distributive. So when you label someone as an asylum seeker or refugee, and then the policy process treats them that way, that's going to be one of them. We're going to talk about private governance, which the example I love, which is probably drive my students crazy, is the McDonald's drive-through in Nigeria that McDonald's wanted to build a McDonald's in Nigeria, but there wasn't a road, so McDonald's built the road. So then the state is not the one who drives the roads, and the state is not the one that brings Lachlan in class, and they're not the ones that bring me to class, and they're not the ones that decide if I can put the addition on my house based on my credit report. But other than that, government does everything. But except any of the things that I need, like food or McDonald's, like most of what I eat comes in a box or through a window. So that's kind of the way it goes. But anyway, so we'll do this, and we'll go through the 8 ways, 3 to 4 readings. I do not always go over the readings, like today I didn't. I mean, we talked about attention, and we didn't really talk about Cottam. That was for you all. What I do is, some students like it, some don't. So make a judgment, but this is the way I do it. I figure you do the readings because you're paying for the degree, and then I add on top of the readings. If you want a tutorial for undergrads, the class is that way, but this is a master's degree class, so I don't assume that you haven't done the readings and you need me to be like a police officer to make sure you've done the readings, and then we talk about the readings for 2 hours. That's not, when I put this class together, I consulted with 12 Indigenous elders. I made 5 invitations for guest lectures, and I added 13 readings on Indigenous public policy making, most of them in Australia, a lot of Canadian cross examples as well. So I've tried to do that and make it an interesting program for this semester. Any questions? Everyone's been very quiet. It's got me nervous. Questions? Yes, and then you're fine. Books. Okay, so you've got them all on the thing, but I did this thing just in case anybody asks that question. I brought Introduction to Public Policy by Thomas Birkeland, 3rd edition, which I recommend if anybody, it's on the library website. But if you're like, I don't know anything, then you've got the Cottam book, which is your political psychology book, which was week 1 reading. And then I would recommend this one. If anybody needs to take a photo of it or something, it's Introduction to Public Policy by Thomas Birkeland, who also came up with the theory of focusing events, which will be very exciting to go over in 1998, if anyone wants to Google it before we get there. Okay, can we hand the cards across? Cards, 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 cards. When I collected all the cards, it's time to go, but not until. And this is not a talking exercise. This is a handing over the cards exercise. This is handing, 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 handing. Okay, handing. Thank you. 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 Okay. Oh, hello. Welcome back. Up top. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Take it. Okay. You can bring it down to the front. Thank you. I'm coming around to the side. I'll be back in 1 second. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Huh? Okay. Okay. Well, thank you. Card. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, John. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Ta. Thank you. Okay, so everyone's got my email. If they have any questions, can I make one request? Last request. Like in case I die in Taylor Swift. That's fine? Okay, all right, that's fine, that's fine. Thank you. Okay, last question, last thing, and then we're done. You can do anything you want to in this class except email me on the weekends. I'm really not kidding on that. I have a file folder and they just disappear. Anyway, thank you and welcome to Government 6159. See you next week. Thank you, Christine. Christine, what'd you think? It's kind of different. I do it a little different. Okay, good.
I'm normally, in the past, have been a very vocal person in class, but I'm also
We'll get warmed up.
You're
doing great.
They're all paying to be here.
No. It's not. That's not the way I look at it. You're all learning.
Yes.
That's all I care about. I'm not. It's not a. Yeah. No. You're encouraged to. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I also met with David today
Yeah.
as an associate supervisor.
Yeah.
I know it's 10 hours a year.
I don't care. I'm not worried about it.
I will respect that.
I am not worried about it.
Thank you.
See you later. Thank you. Yes.
It's like I was thinking about the learning hub. It's like I have to book ahead of the time, or like I can just go in there and ask for questions.
What is it? Sorry.
The learning hub.
Yes, the Learning Hub. Yes, you can make an appointment.
It's like I have to book ahead of
Yes,
the time.
that's correct.
I don't quite understand this that part. It's like the hierarchy of biological emotional response.
Yes.
It's like attention goes first. I know it's
Yes.
controlled by the state, and so that's the identity. But what about this
Expectation. We'll talk more about it. I promise.
It can be controlled by the.
It can either be cognitive, so it can be behavioral, like in your body, or it could be associated by social construction, by society. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Sure. Perfect. Thank you. Okay. All right.
Just briefly, couple of us are curious, was there an attendance list that was circulated?
Not this week, I'll do it next week.
Cool, awesome.
Thank you.
Also, happy Mardi Gras.
Yes, happy Mardi Gras. Thanks, everyone. John, hello. Nice to meet you. Mackenzie, see you next week. I hope. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, good. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Ta. Thanks, everybody. Thank you. Ta. Thank you. Okay. I have a question for you, James, when you get a chance. Did it sign out? Yeah, okay. All right, this goes here. Oh, thank you. I'll take it home. Thank you very much. Have a good night. Thank you. See you next week.
May I take a photo of that?
Yes. Yes. James? Yes. Hello.
Thing I just wanted to mention.
Yes.
What would be the potential to sort of take in the concept of Benangunj to the assessment? So I'm not sure if you know the president. It was an Aboriginal health studies book that my mum raised me on because she attended Sydney University, and it essentially means the white man hears but he doesn't listen.
I like it.
Yeah.
The answer is yes. I like it.
Might be
So just use it in relation to one of the four. That would be what I did.
Perfect.
Yes. Thanks, Dickon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ta. Thank you. Yeah. I was going to ask James a question, so. Oh, okay. Yes, sir.
Sundays I'm out here at the class, so I send you an email prior to.
That's correct. Just try to keep the 50% of the total class, and then I don't have to.
It's just I work at Parliament and
I
sometimes
know.
like some city weeks it might be, otherwise I'll definitely make it.
Yeah, just email me.